My name is Kehkashan Basu. I am a United Nations Human Rights Champion, the winner of the 2016 International Children's Peace Prize, the youngest recipient of Canada's Top 25 Women of Influence and L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth Canada. I'm a National Geographic Young Explorer, a TEDx speaker, climate reality leader, author, and musician. And most importantly, I am the founder and president of Green Hope Foundation, which I started when I was 12 years old to provide children and youth with a platform to learn about sustainability challenges and then how to take actions to mitigate the problems. I have just been elected as the youth lead of the Toronto St. Paul's Constituency Youth Council, Canada. I'm studying environmental studies and minoring in women and gender studies and physical and environmental geography at University of Toronto. I do my MBA afterwards, and my dream is to become the first female UN Secretary General. Definitely, but yeah, I would love to work with the UN and with World Bank because we already work very closely with them, and yeah, that's where I see myself being in this international arena and continuing to do that. And with Green Hope, we want to expand to every country in the world and involve as many people as possible, especially children. So yeah, and then work with and ensure that we're able to actually bridge that opportunity gap. So I consider myself to be a global citizen, and I was brought up on the philosophy of universality of humankind, wherein we're all equal. But that is not the case around the world, as I realized, because the reality on the ground is completely different, and the opportunity gap that divides the haves and have-nots continues to widen. And while we on one hand celebrate the successful launch of SpaceX and missions to Mars, we turn a blind eye to the fact that there are millions of children who die every year due to a lack of clean drinking water. And there are other statistics that say that 165 million children around the world don't go to school, and hundreds of species have become extinct in the last decade, all because of human impact. So it's this inequality that I'm fighting to redress through my spiritual belief of all of us being one and the common humanity in all of us. And I do this by empowering the world's most vulnerable and marginalized young people, women, and girls using education for sustainable development as a transformative tool. So my spiritual and moral philosophy definitely play a huge role in the work that I do and the work that I have done in the past so many years. IPCC report has clearly stated that the mitigation of climate change cannot happen only by legislation or by framing new policies. And it actually requires the seamless involvement and participation of all sections of civil society. And this is not a problem for someone else to solve. Climate change does not respect geographical boundaries. It affects everyone. And quite often, the people who suffer the consequences of climate change are not the ones who are responsible for it. So to quote environmentalist Robert Swan, the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. And the solution is really simple, but due to the inequalities that divide our world, the implementation is really difficult because each nation needs to focus on their own interests instead of a global agenda. But what we really need right now is everyone thinking globally, acting locally, localizing solutions and the sustainable development goals, and everyone taking actions on their own that ultimately forms the collective that creates a sustainable world. First of all, we need to bridge the opportunity gap, and we need to bridge the gap between policy and grassroots action through awareness. The consequences of climate change are felt most by communities who are not responsible for it. And in most cases, these communities are in developing nations already hampered by poverty and a lack of infrastructure. So climate action requires us to build their resilience and include them in the process of implementation. So education for sustainable development holds the key in building their awareness and inclusivity to provide them with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, values, and behavior needed to think and act for a sustainable future. Started Green Hope Foundation in 2012 when I was 12 years old on my return from Rio Plus 20. And at Rio Plus 20, I was one of the youngest delegates at 12 years old. And I realized that there was a tremendous lack of inclusivity of children in the sustainable development process. And to address this inequality and this lack of inclusivity, I decided to start Green Hope Foundation so that children and youth could have this platform to learn about sustainability challenges and then learn how to take actions to solve and mitigate all of these problems. So currently, Green Hope Foundation works in 16 countries across the globe. We work on various aspects of sustainable development, from environmental conservation, gender equality, social upliftment, ensuring access to clean water, access to sanitation. We also work mostly on education for sustainable development and use that to work on all our other projects. So basically, we work on localizing the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we actually work on all of the SDGs in different parts of the world. Lack of funding is something that has been a challenge for us because I started my organization really young, and at that time, and even kind of now, but mostly at that time, there was a very rigid mindset about investing in children and not viewing children as like lucrative to invest in. So we did have organized funding at all. We still don't have organized funding, but we have, through our work, we have been able to gain support of some corporates, some individuals who have been able to support our projects, in our international projects and local projects. And we also, like if I win any awards, I donate all of that money to Green Hope Foundation. That spark actually came when I was 7 years old, when I saw an image of a dead bird with its belly full of plastic. And I could not sleep at night because I could not stop thinking about the agony the bird must have gone through before it died. So I decided to stop that from happening again. And that's why I started working on the ground, going around to my local shops, beauty salons, restaurants, talking to them about the importance of moving towards environmental conservation practices. And I started by engaging the children in my community because I found that they were the most receptive to what I was talking about. And I worked on the ground for about 3 years. I started my journey by planting my first tree on my 8th birthday, and then I started working on the ground. And when I was 11, the UN somehow caught hold of what I was doing, and I was invited to speak at my first UN conference. And the following year, I was in Rio Plus 20, and that's when I started Green Hope Foundation. Tree planting played a very big role because I realized that that was the simplest yet most effective way to mitigate climate change and stop land degradation. And that was one thing. I encouraged people to recycle. I encouraged people to upcycle because that used less energy. I tried to talk to the children about how they could make how they could make their home life more sustainable, ensuring that they spoke to their parents, their peers about it, and simple practices like eating locally, eating sustainable organic food, eating seasonal food, and avoiding imports. Things like that, or even simple tips like turning off the tap when not in use, turning off electronic gadgets when not in use, or if they could ask their parents if they could change their light bulbs to LED bulbs instead of the usual filament bulbs. So these were simple tips that as an 8-year-old, I was able to come up with and speak to my fellow children about that. And gradually I started talking to them more about other steps that they could take within their communities in terms of spreading awareness, in terms of organizing tree plantings and recycling campaigns. And that's when I started Green Hope as well. We have this innovative tool called Environment Academies, where we have brainstorming sessions within our academies where children come up with solutions on how they can achieve a more sustainable world. So it's conducted by children for children. And yeah, that's how we work at Green Hope Foundation. And of course, just from an environmental perspective, we moved on to gender equality and social upliftment and other aspects of sustainable development. And now, many, many years later, we're here working on various sustainability topics. That whatever comes from the heart stays. And if you're really passionate about something and about the work that you do, there is nothing that can stop you from achieving that goal. And I think that it's really important that we all go through life with honesty, hard work, and positivity. And I think these three things have really helped me in my journey. And I would say that any solution that is implemented is obviously best implemented regionally or within a nation. So I would say that these three things are pretty universal. So I would recommend that everyone moves forward with these three values in their life because it really, really helps. At the civil society level, like in the general public, there's still a lot that needs to be done, I think. But I think that we work a lot with children, and I'm seeing that there are a lot of children in schools or just like in the general public who are, we're able to hone that enthusiasm and then that love for nature. So I think that is definitely changing, and even more so with education curriculums, adopting environmental education, which is something Green Hope helps with. But to be completely honest with you, people, I have not seen like at the ground level, people my age, not so much, but yeah, I think it's definitely improving. So yeah, and at Green Hope, we see that improvement, but we've seen that it works best with children who've had that environmental education from a very young age. So yeah, that's what we are trying to promote as well. I think I'd say tree planting. And of course, we focus on planting indigenous trees in different parts of the world, but I think that would be something that everyone would be able to undertake and try to make their environments greener. My name is Kehkashan. I'm the founder president of Green Hope Foundation. We at Green Hope Foundation have planted 86,000 trees around the world, so I want you to go out and plant a tree.